Hello, my name is Isabel, and I'm a fan of a lot of things. I'm also an overachiever, and I'm incapable of doing things by half, so when I get invested in something, I like to go all in. That is exactly what this project is. I plan to read, watch, or otherwise consume all of the content from different fandoms and chronicle my experiences on this page. This project was born out of a love of fandoms. For as long as I can remember, I've been a fan of something. Whether it was the Disney fairies when I was little, Percy Jackson in middle school, or the MCU as a teenager, I've always found something to throw myself into and learn about as much as I can. Today, it seems like everything has a fandom. Sequels and reboots often feel more prominent than original stories, and while there's certainly a larger conversation to be had about that topic, I also think that there's something to celebrate in all content, regardless of how original it is. That being said, it often becomes harder to be a fan of something when there's so much background lore. There's the classic joke about how it's impossible to watch new Star Wars content because all the fans will talk about is how the mischaracterization of Glup Shido ruined the project. But I have to say, it's fun to know what Glup Shido is. It's fun to walk into a theater with all the background knowledge you need to understand all the references. It's a lot of work, but it pays off. At the end of the day, fandom is about community. I want to share my love of stories with people who love them just as much as I do. I want to revisit old loves and convince other people to love them as well. I want to discover new things to enjoy based on recommendations from people who enjoy them already. This project is a two-way street in that way. Here's how things will work. I will start with an introduction to the fandom I will be diving into for my latest project. I'll cover my background with the content and outline what I will be covering going forward. For bigger fandoms, I plan on going into the content that isn't as mainstream as well. For example, Star Wars consists of movies and TV shows, along with books, comics, and games. That's just a brief overview. I will cover each of these mediums and the whole fandom in a particular order, likely chronological or release-based depending on the project. After my introduction to the fandom, I will dive in. Depending on how much content there is to consume, I will either provide regular updates or one big update when everything is finished. I will individually review each piece of media, as well as review the fandom as a whole. At the end of it all, I will decide if I'm a fan, a casual observer, or not a fan. As a fan, I pledge to continue committing my time to the fandom. I will continue to consume new media and post regular updates when new content comes out. As a casual observer, I will pick and choose what I want to read or watch. If something new in the fandom catches my eye, I will pay attention, but I won't beat myself up for letting things slip through the cracks. Reviews on this page might be less frequent, if at all. Not a fan is pretty self-explanatory. If I decide I don't want to be a part of the fandom, then I will leave it behind. There's so much that I want to cover with this project. I will be starting out with the MCU, so keep an eye out for my introduction post on that topic. Of course, Star Wars will be coming someday, but likely not for a while due to the sheer amount of time that it would take to cover. There are a lot of animated movies that I want to watch, so keep an eye out for things like Disney and Pixar movies. I'd also love to bring back some fandoms that I enjoyed in the past, like Percy Jackson, and maybe even the Disney fairies. I also love movies in general, so I anticipate covering the Oscars when that season comes around. If any of this sounds interesting, please stick around, and if you have any suggestions for things to cover, please let me know. I'm always open to exploring new things. And that's all I have for now. If this sounds interesting, then please do stick around. As I mentioned, I will be posting about the MCU pretty soon, so stay tuned for that. Until then, thank you for reading and listening.